Penn State loses its first game of the season in very difficult fashion, 23-20 to those Iowa Hawkeyes. They could be missing, wait a minute, you're not Dave Chance. Daniel Gallen joining me after the game. Daniel, what a tough game, what a gallant effort by Penn State's defense and their kicking game, especially Jordan Stout. But yes, they lost the game, yes, they had a lead, but really the story is, Sean Clifford didn't play for almost 2.5 quarters. James Franklin would not give us an update, the extent of his injury. We got to look really for the first time at Taquan Roberson. Almost an impossible environment when you haven't played a lot. He did a couple of good things, but there were some mistakes. As good as Penn State's looked for half of the season, you just have to wonder what the next couple of weeks are going to look like. I know they're on the bye, but I guess a lot of it depends on how healthy Sean Clifford's going to be in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest takeaway from today. The offense was moving when Sean was under center.
Yes.
The play after his last play was a field goal to put them up 17-3.
Right.
Looked like they might run away with it, and then you lose those 3 series at the end of the first half.
Yeah.
Come back a little bit in the second half. Looks like there's some composure there, but it just wasn't enough. So I think that Clifford's health is going to be. That's just the biggest thing moving forward.
Yeah, and I know the fans want to know, well, what is the issue? I mean, because we saw him run off when he was hurt. It's not a lower leg thing. What we do know is the last play he was on the field for, he took a shot from, I believe it was a blitzing Iowa linebacker, Jack Campbell, and he got up really slow. He stayed on the field for a little while. We saw him run to the locker room, and then at the start of the second half, after Roberson had played a little, he came out without his uniform on. It's probably a fool's errand to speculate what the injury is, but he looked in pretty good spirits on the sideline. I guess maybe the bigger question is, if you're Penn State and you got to get Taquan Roberson to play, their next game I think is in 2 weeks at Illinois, what do you think they build around? He's obviously a mobile quarterback, but and at home it's a little bit easier to execute. And he's going to be facing an easier defense. But if you're Taquan Roberson and if you're Mike Yurcich, what are you trying to do?
I think you're really looking at how to utilize his legs. That was kind of when the offense was moving the most.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think you want to keep the things that Sean Clifford was doing well in the offense.
Yeah.
Getting the ball out to the wide receivers in space, getting it to Parker Washington over the middle.
Right.
Maybe if you have a quarterback like Taquan Roberson, maybe that opens things up a little bit more for Kevon Lee, Noah Kane. There's a little bit more attention there. But I think that the offense I don't see it changing that much. It didn't change that much tonight.
Right.
Penn State was still doing the same things with Roberson that it was doing with Clifford.
A lot of penalties. I think the crowd impacted the game as well.
Yes.
A lot of false starts. I know what Penn State fans are thinking, and I kind of was thinking it too. It's revisionist history. If Sean Clifford is the quarterback for the whole game, I think they really had Iowa's defense. Even though he made some interceptions early, he had them on roller skates. And the game plan was pretty good. They were spreading the ball around, the quick game, all of that. I don't think they would have ended up with just 20 points. It's unfortunate, but let's just turn it to the defensive side because, man, did they play hard. They played great in the red zone again, and Curtis Jacobs, a young player from Maryland, had his best game. I thought he was really impressive kind of coming off the edge.
Yeah, Jacobs was someone who really stood out tonight. We've kind of been hearing it the past couple of weeks, all right, he's coming along. We're going to see this 5-star talent manifest on the field. And I think today was really the first step toward that. I mean, he was really around the ball early, made some plays, couple tackles for loss, couple pressures, and I think that for Penn State defense, you've already gotten a lot out of Brandon Smith this year. Mm-hmm. You're getting a lot out of Alice Brooks, 14 tackles today.
Right.
Now you're getting a lot out of Jacobs, and I think that there are some questions about the linebackers coming in, and I think you have to feel good about that group.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about the other big injury that, really hurt Penn State. P.J. Mustipher goes out on Iowa's first drive. It's clearly a knee or a leg injury. He tried hard to get ready to go back in there because they have a great center in Tyler Linderbaum, but he just couldn't go. He was on crutches for the whole second half. That has to be an injury that's probably going to take a substantial amount of time to recover from. But I thought, even though Penn State's other defensive tackles aren't really names, they really fought hard to kind of hang in there. And I just thought this was a winning effort by the Penn State defense, and it was one of the better efforts I've seen from Jordan Stout. It was a game of field position, just like we thought it would be. They were backed up the whole game, but the Penn State's defense, except for the go-ahead touchdown, they really played outstanding against a team on the road that you knew at some point they were going to make some plays.
Yeah, I think that the Mustipher injury, 5th play of the game, you kind of thought that maybe Tyler Goodson would start to get it going.
Yeah.
Maybe thought that that was going to be kind of a big turning point, but Goodson finished with 26 carries for only 79 yards. The big runs weren't really there. Devon Elliott was doing a good job taking up space in the middle, but when you play the bend but don't break defense, you just can never break.
Yeah.
And they broke on that 44-yard touchdown, and can't do that.
We still got 6 games left. We got a bye, but I have to ask. I'm going to ask you this, even though this is your first year covering the team. You know, Penn under James Franklin, he's always been very hesitant, even in blowouts, to play his backup quarterbacks, to get them any kind of experience, just to get used to the atmosphere, the crowd, the speed of the game. It's not the same as practice. Do you think moving forward, I mean, Sean Clifford is a guy that is a veteran. You wonder how many reps he actually needs. Don't you feel like maybe they need to get, even if Sean returns, they have to get their backup, their second quarterback, just more experience in case a moment like this happens? Because once Sean went out, you know, you hate to say it, but there was only going to be so many scoring chances they were going to have.
Yeah, I think it's tough, and I think that you just kind of have to look at how the schedule opened up this year and the teams that they were playing, where you didn't have Idaho in week 1.
Yeah.
You didn't have that. But I did kind of feel, just kind of in the flow of the game, in that Ball State game, in the Villanova game, there's kind of the, you know, your internal clock is kind of like, okay, this is when we should see Tavon Rivers, and this is when
don't
we
always
should see
see
them.
Yeah. I mean, it's 3rd-year quarterback. This is really the first time he's ever been in a meaningful game with meaningful stats. It's not an easy environment. It was good and bad. It was not great. He actually, we just talked to him. His head's up. He's a talented kid, but I think there's a real chance that Penn State might have him for at least the next couple of weeks as we learn about Sean Clifford. It's a shame, but you know, if they run the table in the Big Ten East, they could see this team again.
Exactly. There's still a lot of season ahead, and it's the cliche, but I think given what happened today, the bye week is at a good time to kind of reset, figure out what exactly the long-term plan is, and see it in 2 weeks against Illinois.
I think you agree. We all miss Dave Jones out here today. He just couldn't be here today. Not to worry, Penn State fans. You're going to be sick of him by the end of the year. He'll be back after the bye week. Plenty to talk about. I'm sure he's got plenty to write about. But that's it from Kinnick Stadium. Another amazing game out here. 2017 was a really great game. 2019 was a really great game. 2008, which predates you, another great game. But they just were on the short end of the stick, unfortunately, yet again.